If there's one question I've been getting in a lot of conversations with clients or at cocktail parties for that matter, it's what do you think will happen with Canada or investments as a whole now that Trump is back? At the time of recording, we're on day 15 since Trump was inaugurated, and the news is coming out hot and fast. For the media, both old and new, what's going on today, February 3rd, it's a busy day. Everyone's taking their best stab to answer these questions, and the main narrative is doom and gloom. Everyone has an opinion, every investment house in the street wants you to know that they're on top of it, and more on top of it than anyone else could possibly be. These so called experts are updating their forecast, and the media can't get enough of it. People want to know how to Trump proof their portfolios, so let's dive into it. And at the end, I'll give you some tips to help separate fact and fiction and navigate these times successfully. First, change is constant. Donald Trump did not invent change. We're certainly in a time of change, that much I know. Just like every time before that, though. I'm more interested, however, in what won't change. First, let's take a trip through time and understand a little bit about how investors and advisors alike have done in the past. JP Morgan published this chart showing various returns of various asset classes around the world. What should catch your eye is that orange bar. It's the returns of the average investor. Notice anything wrong here? The blue bars are the 60/40 equity portfolio and the 40/60 asset allocations, both far exceeding the returns of the average investor. At 3.6%, the average investor is closer to inflation than that of a conservative portfolio like the 40/60's 6.4%. Why is this? Why does the average investor continue to underperform even a fairly conservative portfolio? Well, the average investor went to work, read the news, played with the kids, had dinner at the table. They lived each one of those days one by one. Unlike the market, they had sovereignty over their decisions and could make buy and sell decisions as they pleased. They had their ambitions and fears, and when the person in the pinstripe suit on TV says the markets are going to zig and zag, they go with it. I've spoken about the lunacy of so-called experts, which I can link below. The Coles notes are that they're only slightly better than a broken clock. Let that sink in. The average investor listens to these, however, and just like anyone else, they hear about opportunities and threats, and eventually have coulda, shoulda, woulda moments that they wish they could have back. Sell low, buy high, or wait until it feels safe kind of moments. Personal finance guru Carl Richards refers to this as the behavior gap, referring to what behavioral economists have found to be the difference between an investment's returns and the investor's returns, similar to the JP Morgan chart. There have been many studies on this topic, all pointing to the same conclusion. The most comical of them was done by Fidelity, who wanted to understand what core attributes some of their top investors had so that they could use that study and help others be better. What the researchers found was that there were two key attributes or traits that stood out as the most common link between investor success, or more accurately, reducing the behavior gap. First, that the client opened up the account, invested, and then totally forgot about the account. Second, that the client died years before and nobody told Fidelity, so the money just stayed invested untouched. This is the impact of investor behavior. Instead of focusing on what will change, Trump, tariffs, or whatever comes next, remember, change is constant, and we humans are terrible at navigating change. Advisors have no business recommending different portfolio strategies than they did a year ago. Our crystal balls are just as broken as the average investors. The so-called edge on the market doesn't exist. Keep your investments aligned with the context and needs of your financial plan. So how do we Trump-proof your portfolio? Playing dead is likely the best option. The idea that these forecasters are all of a sudden going to become correct or that the behavior gap will suddenly reverse in the next 4 years is a leap of faith that I'm not willing to bet on. We're 16 days into Trump's presidency. Tariffs were pushed back a month, so we're happy, I guess. The next question is, what are we going to do in a month? Or the month after that? Or the month after that? Zigging and zagging for the next 4 years is reliant on godlike luck. Always consider the plight of the average investor and how playing dead is overwhelmingly where you're going to narrow the behavior gap the most. I'll leave you with this graphic, again from Carl Richards. Good investments with great behavior is a recipe to outperform 99% of people. There's going to be a tendency to think that these times are just scarier though. We often forget how scared we were in the past because we ended up getting through it. That the future is unknown will always drive fear. It always has. If you would like to chat further about this, I'm more than happy to discuss. Thank you very much.